The Texans are at a crossroads, an early season crossroads, but a crossroads nonetheless. 0-3 and facing, I don't even know if you can call these must wins anymore. They just need to start winning any football games. And if they can't beat the Tennessee Titans, this is going to be a very long year. Looking at what happened today, a lot of familiar storylines, all too familiar. The Texans, untimely penalties. The Texans have a turnover, this time from one of their most sure-handed and reliable players, Nico Collins. Only the second fumble of his career. So for that to happen, for them to fumble the football game away and to have a lapse in coverage, as Brian Thomas Jr., who dropped passes all day, makes the play that sets up the game-winning touchdown. And then they still had a chance, despite everything that happened, despite the protection issues and the 3 penalties on rookie left tackle Ariante Urster. He was kind of taken to school today by Josh Hines-Allen, and he has a face mask penalty. He has a couple of holding penalties. They have penalties from Titus Howard. And in general, you just have a team that commits way too many penalties. And that is a lack of discipline when you can't stop committing penalties and you can't concentrate. Do they miss 5-time Pro Bowl left tackle Laramie Tunsil's pass protection? Certainly. They don't miss his false starts, and they didn't want to go back to the negotiating table with Laramie. But it was a situation where they made their bed and now they have to sleep in it, and they have to improve as a football team. In terms of C.J. Stroud, a lot of people wondering what's going on with C.J. I think it's hard for him to elevate his teammates right now, and they're bringing him down. And it's starting to affect his play and his demeanor. Like he said, sometimes his body language isn't so great. And it's not really so much about body language, it's about accuracy, and it's this Nick Caley offense. And Nick is a rookie play caller, and it's showing. He's making some rookie mistakes. There are growing pains with the entire offense. It's not just the offense. You saw when they don't have a Derek Stingley Jr., who was forced out of the game with an oblique injury called day-to-day by DeMeco Ryans, that has a trickle-down effect. You have Tremont Smith out there instead of your $90 million man, Derek Stingley Jr. Overall, when you look at where the Texans are really hurting, it's a lot of areas. It's penalties. It's pass protection. They're rotating guards. You never see that. That's like a preseason football thing to rotate Laken Tomlinson and Juice Scruggs at the left guard spot. Normally, that's what you do when you're trying to evaluate. They're supposed to have their offensive line figured out, and Laken is the only former Pro Bowl selection that's a member of that offensive line. So a lot of things going on, a lot of accountability from Nico and guys like that. That's not the issue. Guys say that they're not going to point fingers, they're not going to turn on each other. You know, that means it's on their mind, and they expect people to think that they will have problems like that in their locker room. Overall, though, at 0-3, I think it's just about improvement and playing a better standard of football. It's not so much about, are they going to get to playoffs? You really can't put the cart before the horse when it comes to the Texans. They have a lot of problems, and DeMeco Ryans says they're close. Yeah, on the scoreboard, but close really only counts in a couple of other types of games. Horseshoes, hand grenades, things like that. In football, you either win or you lose. And as Bill Parcells once said, you are what your record says you are. The Texans are an 0-3 team, and they've got a lot of room for improvement. I don't think they're a team that's hopeless, certainly not. I think there is talent on this roster. I think there is good guys in the locker room. But right now, what they're doing is not equating to winning football games, and they've got to figure it out fast. As they say, it's an improvement league, and the Texans are not improving as fast as their opponents. That was a winnable football game. That was not a winning quarterback performance by Trevor Lawrence, and the Texans still managed to let him off the hook. They didn't have that step on their neck mentality, the killer instinct to finish this football game, and they've still a team that has to learn how to win. Every year in the NFL, you start from zero. The Texans are at rock bottom, and if they lose to Cam Ward and the Titans, maybe you got to dig an even deeper hole. 0-4 has a really bad sound to it. And who would have thought they would be this bad after entering the season with legitimate Super Bowl ambitions? This is not what they cooked up. This is not why they went to West Virginia to bond and all those things. This is not looking like a good football team. And the regression in the offense from the Bobby Slowick era to now Nick Caley, it's fairly obvious. They're just not doing anything super creative, and nothing is really working, and they're pressing, and you're seeing these issues again and again and again. Guys, we'll see if they can improve. They're headed back to Houston. I'm about to head back to Houston as well. And we'll have much more at KPRC2 and www.click2houston.com. Hey guys, Aaron Wilson. After a tough day for the Texans, another loss, their third of the season, 0-3, and an even deeper hole to climb out of. I'm starting to wonder what kind of shovels would the Texans need to get themselves back to solid ground. Right now, they are just buried in problems. The penalties, which is, yes, a sign of undisciplined football. And a lot of it is trying to do too much pressing, or guys that just are overwhelmed physically or mentally at the moment, and that's when the penalties happen. And they can't happen. They are hurting this team, and there's not a lot you can do when you don't have much depth to try to bench guys. People always say that. Oh, we'll just put them on the bench. That'll teach them. Okay, you can live with the results. It can get even worse. You can get your quarterback hurt. There's a lot of things that can happen. So for rookie left tackle Arion Church, he's just an example. He's not the reason they lost the game. But he did allow pressure to Josh Hines-Allen, who really tipped that ball, and then interception for C.J. Stroud. When they had a chance to perhaps get back in the game after a defensive breakdown on that Brian Thomas Jr. long catch after a bunch of drops from him, someone that is really struggling with his confidence, and then Etienne with the game-winning touchdown. So you look at where the Texans are. They have to beat the Tennessee Titans to have any hope of saying, oh, we're going to make a playoff run. I know what everyone will tell you. The math says there's a lot of football left, and they can do it, and they can get to a point where they're doing better. That's fine. You can say all of that, but the reality is, and they can say they're close. Close only really counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, not football. Close isn't good enough, and they know that. And DeMeco Ryans knows that, but he's not going to obviously point fingers. And I don't think the players necessarily that solidarity or unity of the locker room is the problem. I think it's performance. So offensive line, not good enough. C.J. Stroud, that's not good enough. C.J. is pressing. He's having trouble elevating the guys. I think they're bringing him down. You know, they're making it tougher for C.J. to be successful. Nico Collins, one of your best football players, one of the best receivers in the game. That's his second fumble in his career. I repeat, in his entire career. So you can say, well, you know, it's on Nico. He said it's on him. Yeah, he's accountable. He was a stand-up guy afterward. There were some other guys that, you know, declined interviews. I understand that. They're emotional. They're upset. All those things. They'll talk another time. You know, but Nico was very accountable and initially didn't want to talk and then decided that, yes, he would face the music. And it's not like we're sticking a mic in these guys' face just so anyone doesn't get twisted and misunderstand. Like, we're like, hey, you have to take the blame. You have to take the blame. No, we just ask questions and the players say whatever they want. You know, everybody, there's no script. It's just a matter of, you know, however the players choose to answer questions. And I do think it's commendable on Nico's part to sit there and answer all the questions and go through it all. And yeah, obviously that's not a pleasant experience. It's not as much fun as talking about a game-winning touchdown, which is what could have happened there. So you look at what happened, and, you know, it's a case of Trevor Lawrence, he's not a very good quarterback, and you lose to him. You let him hang around, and they didn't finish them off. This is the Texans' first loss on the road to the Jaguars since 2017. That was the first interception C.J. Stroud's ever thrown against the Jaguars. He entered today with his 7 touchdown to 0 interception ratio against the Jaguars. So now 0-3, they let Etienne score because they wanted to have one more chance. And they had a chance, to their credit. They didn't roll over. They tried. And, you know, for the Jaguars, this could have been a day where maybe some things changed for them as a franchise, where they got better and took a step. Yes, there was a Tyson Campbell punch out on Nico Collins with 3:58 to play. It does look like a turning point. And that got the ball to Devin Lloyd, and it got the Texans headed in the wrong direction. And yeah, like, you know, DeMeco Ryans says, they give the ball to one of their best players. They trust him with the football. And as, you know, he says, Nico hates it more than anyone to have the ball taken away from him. Just a very tough moment for the Texans. So, you know, entering this game, CJ had been lights out against the Jaguars, including that game 2 years ago when him and Tank Dell really kind of started their connection when they were 0-2 and got the season going off to the right start. So he's 25 for 38, 204 yards, a touchdown, and 2 turnovers. He was sacked twice. He was hit a lot more often than you would hope for your franchise quarterback. And the Jaguars, they have 3 takeaways. That's the 3rd game in a row. They're playing some good defensive football. So like D'Amico Ryan says, you turn the ball over 3 times, very tough to win in this league. Tough enough to win. You put yourself to help the opponent win. That's not winning football. He's absolutely right. And so how bad was it for Ursery against Josh Hines-Allen? The game-sealing play, 3 quarterback hits and a sack that he split with Eric Armstead. And so the second-round draft pick from Minnesota having a tough time, trying to get to a point where he's really in a sounder ground as a offensive lineman. And I probably have to get to some sounder ground too. I'm kind of getting sprayed here a little bit by the sprinkler system. So we're going to move a little bit down, and bear with me here. Just getting a little too damp, and that's not good for phone. You guys can probably see the sprinkler there. And I'm a little damp. That's okay. I do it all for you guys, to bring it for you guys on YouTube, social media, KPRC2, www.clicktohouston.com. Not playing hurt, just playing with a little bit of mist on me. Maybe I needed to cool off a little bit, calm down after watching this game. Injuries. The only big injury, it's an important player. Derek Stingley Jr., all-pro corner, the Texans' $90 million man. They missed him out there when he had this oblique injury. They called it an abdomen injury. First they called it a rib injury. Turns out it's oblique. They say he's day-to-day. And then C.J. Gardner-Johnson briefly left the game, but he went back in. And then for the Jaguars, Diami Brown injured his left shoulder and was ruled out. So some injuries that went on in this game. And I want to go through a few more things before I head to the airport and fly back to Houston, and we'll make some more sense of this online as we go forward. So the running game, Nick Chubb, he only had 9 runs. He had 38 yards. He played well enough. Woody Marks, he played well enough. 6 runs, 27 yards. And for the Texans, it's really a situation where nothing's enough. The running game, nothing that's going to win you a ton of games. It's good enough, but it's not quite there. Receiving, it helped to have Christian Kirk, but it wasn't enough. I just wonder, had they overrated their own talent in their estimation of the roster? There's personnel issues, there's penalty issues, there's turnover issues, and there's the defensive breakdowns here and there. I think they're rushing the passer well enough. It's just a matter of when are they going to put it all together? And the season feels like it's slipping away. They're at a crossroads, and they've all got to be on the same page. And I thought last week when C.J. Stroud, said that he didn't think there were communication issues, and D'Amico Ryan said that there were. They weren't on the same page with that, but they did get on the same page in the week as far as what they were saying to the press, and that's fine. But it's more about what you do on the field. Deeds, not words, action. And the Texans, they need to take some action, some corrective action. Right now, it's not working. The offensive coordinator, the game plans, the ball security, every area of football, the Texans need to get better, and they got to get better in a hurry. And if they don't, yeah, it's very possible to lose to the Titans, and they could be 0-4, and that's not a place that they want to find themselves in. They've got a lot of work to do, and they've got a short amount of time to do it. And right now, yeah, there's reason for serious concern. Do they look like a playoff team to me? No, absolutely not. Who could say that they look like a playoff team right now with a straight face and tell you that they look like a playoff team? I just can't see it. For me, it's a team that has a lot of work to do. They overhauled this offensive line. It's not really working without Laramie Tunsil. If anything, the offense has regressed. It is worse than it was a year ago. At some point, Ariante Ursery, I think he has a bright future. He'll learn on the job. He'll get better. Titus Howard's playing some winning football. Ed Ingram's playing pretty well. The right side looks okay to me. Center's okay for the most part. I thought that the rotation of guards, that's more something you do in the preseason. You're trying to evaluate. They need to pick a guard and stick with him. In my opinion, Juice Scruggs or Laken Tomlinson, the vet. And then at some point, you just have to develop and hope that learning on the job is going to work for Ariante Ursery. I'm going to head to the airport, guys. Great talking with you. Talk to you soon.